why. Why would Garth Villa... I still have trouble...
Can I reiterate? Not his real name.
Yes, indeed.
and if you're out there listening, ha ha.
Now, I think I did unravel part of the clue, but again, my definition is not a real name. But did you really base him on Darth Vader?
Well, there is a line in the book that I was very proud of when I came up with it, and it went something like, he was your quintessential workplace villain. Something like Viller was your quintessential workplace villain. I was very proud of that line. You can take that. You can take away from it what you want. The part of literature, or the nice thing about literature is you're free to conjure up whatever images you want. And if you want to talk about a guy in a black cape and a black helmet with an asthma problem walking around and writing me up, then you go ahead and do that.
I don't want to push that subject, but let's move on. What sort of feedback are you getting from readers?
A lot of them are the same as yours. Just, why did you do that? And I can't believe you're not dead. Basically the same thing. Most people just focus on the humor and funny book, but why did you do that? And people who have read my Oman books, they understand the appeal of Oman, but why did you go to Saudi Arabia? So basically that's it. And then of course it's what were you really doing there? So
I love it.
Can I just tell you a little anecdote?
Sure.
A girl I grew up with in the little town of Sequim, Washington. Her dad was a ranger in the Army and in Korea, and he was always proud of me that I'd gone into the 82nd Airborne. And my wife and I went to visit him and his wife, and we sat down, and he's an older gentleman, and the first thing he says is, "Okay, Matt, tell me what you're really doing over there." And I was like, "No, I'm just teaching English." So anyway, that's besides what were you really doing there? Then people do appreciate the humor and with all of my books, Simon, I think that because I was born with a sense of humor, I'm able to teach things, and this is kind of my appeal in the classroom as well. I can make things funny so that things that might seem like they would not be interesting, they actually end up being very interesting. And I got a review on my Deceptions of the Ages book, and I got a D. I took high school physics. I don't know why I did, but I got a D, and some woman sent me a thing and said, "I never understood physics until I read your book." And so if I can make something as dry and uninteresting as physics interesting, then I guess I can do the same thing for just about anything.
Okay, where can people buy copies of Killing Time?
Well, first of all, you can buy them from me. You can just go on. You can go to www.heinessight.com. I don't know if you're going to post a link on your thing or not, but you can buy paperback copies from myself, or they're available on Amazon. They're available in Kindle format. And also, can I also say that on Thanksgiving next week, on Thanksgiving, there will be a free download available for Another Year in Oman, my second book. So if anybody has a Kindle, they can just go on Amazon and get that. And anytime that you buy a paperback book from Amazon from me or one of my books on Amazon, they will give you a free matchbook on your Kindle. But I'm also on iBooks, Kobo, Barnes and Noble, and whatever other bookstores. I'm bad. I'm nationwide. I'm worldwide, as ZZ Top might say.
Okay. I'm going to lighten it up a little bit. Would you recommend teaching as a career for people heading out to the Middle East?
Would I recommend it? If you are a person who likes to experience cultures that are different, absolutely. But if you're just going to go over there, and there's a line in Apocalypse Now, the movie, where they say that, yeah, these guys came over and they just wanted to make everything like home, and the more they made it like home, the more they missed it. As if you're going to do that, don't go. The first thing I did when I went to Oman is I looked around and I said, I've got to explore this place. I got to see what's out there. I bought a car and I went out and I did everything and anything that I could do. Diving, snorkeling, exploring, camping. So if you're into that kind of stuff, then I recommend it. But if you're just there to make money or whatever, you're not only hurting yourself, you're also hurting people's images of Westerners. And they have such a bad stereotype of Westerners there that people will just come up, or that are just coming for money and they don't care about their culture. If that's how you are, don't do it. But if you like, and I'll also say this: teaching in the Middle East it improved. I mean, the students there are so different. It honed me. It made me such an excellent teacher. And I was able to perfect so many skills like computer and multimedia and so many things. And so I was able to do that because I was able to teach with students that were not, that were not the normal students. So if you're a pure teacher, yeah, do it. If you like other cultures and you want to experience a different thing in life, do it. But if you just want to, go eat a McDonald's burger every time you go out, then stay home. Don't go.
How difficult? Obviously, you had spent time in Oman, but you arrive in Saudi Arabia. How difficult was it to acclimate to the culture?
It wasn't difficult at all because I had gone from being surrounded by Omanis to being surrounded by Americans. So I actually was just basically stepping back in to the American culture. And for people who are interested in teaching in Saudi Arabia or the Middle East, in Saudi Arabia, unlike the other countries that are there, and I can't speak for everyone individually, but Saudi Arabia, you will probably live on a secure compound, whereas Oman, Dubai, the Emirates, and Qatar, generally they just put you in apartments or your own villas. So you're living out with the people. But when you're in Saudi Arabia, they do everything they can to take care of you. So that's one of the pluses is that you have no phone bill. Well, you have a phone bill, you just pay for your phone. No electricity, no rent, no nothing. Gas is like 60 cents a gallon. They provide you with cars for the most part, except for the company I worked with. So it's a great way. And so basically, you keep all the money you make, and that's the advantage of living there. But if you're, as I said again, life is more than money. And if you're just going to go there and sit in your hole and collect your money, you're not going to have a very good time, and you're gonna end up leaving and do what most people do, and that's saying a bunch of horrible things about the country. So
one of the things that comes across in Killing Time in Saudi Arabia was your need. I'd call it a first. But I don't mean that in the liquor sense. Just for human companionship. You join the local, or one of the local chapters of the Hash House Harriers. No one has ever heard of them except me. But there again, I'm really old.
I know. Are you talking about in the UK or the US?
Actually, the first time I found out about them was in the US, San Diego. We employed someone from South Africa, and he asked me if there was any local Hash House Harriers.
And you go, what?
Yeah, that was pretty much my response.
She was like, they have a house for that? Isn't that up in Seattle or something?
No, he was just looking for a Hash House Harriers group he could join.
Yeah, but you mentioned that name here, and nobody thinks of exercising.
Right. Now,
everybody thinks of Seattle and Nirvana.
Right. Would you care to explain what the Hash House Harriers is all about?
Well, I can, and I'll do the best that I can, but I am not an expert on it, as I say in my book. But how it relates to the story is that was the social group in Saudi Arabia, or in Riyadh. And so what you had, and I talk about this as a social phenomenon in the book, and I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but an interesting thing about Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, is you have thousands of single or variable status women that are working as nurses, secretaries, engineers, accountants, whatever. And you have all of these, variable status men that are working there on contracts where their wives are not allowed. So what do you think happens? So the hashing was just an avenue for it to meet women. And where was the hashing held? It was done out in the middle of the desert. And so people who read the book are going to go, well, if these people are out by the dozens in the middle of the desert in Saudi Arabia, isn't that kind of dangerous? and the fact is, nobody. I mean, precautions were taken, but for the most part, it was overlooked because that drive, that need to meet other people, and that need to get out of this existence that I live in, just outweighed all that. And another thing is that we were working with South Africans, or we were socializing, and my girlfriend was from South Africa. And when they looked at us Americans and how we hide on our compounds, and they say, "Are you kidding me? You think Riyadh is dangerous? Try Johannesburg sometime." And they would laugh at us because Americans would be all hiding on their compounds and saying how dangerous it was. And but there was a small group of us that went out and we did the hashing and things like that. And I just want to also mention, if you look in my not the print editions, but the Kindle books and the iBooks, especially the iBook, those have a lot of pictures. And in the iBooks, they have widgets with maps, pictures, and so that I really cover a lot, and you can get a really good picture of what life is like in Riyadh if you can get a hold of the iBook version of it.
Okay. Let me see if I can wrap my head around the concept of hashing. In its traditional form, it's a bunch of guys that get fairly drunk and a couple of them head off first, laying down a trail. In fact, it's based on an old game called Fox and Hounds, I think it is. And after a couple of hours, the hashers head off to find the end result. Do I have that fairly correct?
Yeah, except that, and I apologize for trying to throw at you the mega mob version of the hash house, and I don't really understand the term hash house harriers that well, but the mega mob did not. Okay, it was basically based on the British Army in Malaysia invented it, and it was made so these guys would run around the jungle, and they would make trails. And they would make false trails, and then you had to find the real trail, and whoever got the real trail. Well, and this is all done while you're running. Now, in the desert, with our group, a lot of us are close to middle age, or we're close to middle age, not going to do any running, and we were just there to meet women. So, and the women were just there to meet men. So everybody went through the motions of going out. We would set the trails out, but the thing was just to find somebody to kind of pair up with and to check out, what was out there. And so that was the middle of the desert was basically our social scene. And let me just finish. And so we had in our group, we had a guy called Smurf, and I don't know if he's still there, but he was a funny man, and I describe him in great detail in the book. But he was what you would call a martinet. He was very strict about the hashing. Things had to be done according to the rules, and if people didn't do things as he wanted them, then he was like a Napoleon, and he really went off. And also let me say that alcohol is not allowed in Saudi Arabia, so where the hashing focuses on alcohol, water was used. And I do mention in the book that although I personally cannot say that I recall having ever seen or had any, there was fermented wine available. And I also talk about there were other forms of alcohol that were available in the black market that people did have access to, but I didn't, or at least that I can remember.
Oh, I think you are telling the truth.
Yes, I didn't inhale. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right. Okay, we're just about out of time, but I do have one last question. Once you get the writing bug, no vaccine can stop it. So what's going to be your next project? I would actually like to do. I have a ton of pictures that I would like to just do a picture book about called My Year in Oman in Pictures, which would basically cover the first and second books. And beyond that, I've never. And let me just explain to your readers. I went into when I was in high school. I used to write for the high school newspaper, and everybody thought I would be a famous writer. When I grew up, I said, I'm not going to be a writer. I'm going to use my talents as a teacher, and I'm fairly smart, I guess. And so I will use my talents, and I will make the world a better place by teaching. And I've reached that point in my life where I've done some writing, but now I really want to leave teaching behind, and I want to write. So my next projects, actually, I would like to do a children's book about the dangers of television. As funny as that might be. Oh, I love the concept, and It's called The Magic Glass.
As it happens, I love children's books.
Okay. Well, I need an illustrator, but it's called The Magic Glass. And I'm not saying, Simon, I'm not saying that I am going to write it, but I would, if I can make enough money from writing, and my wife and I can be comfortable, then yeah, I would. I have so many books that I would like to write. I love history, and if you read my Deceptions book, you'll see that I basically covered a lot of areas that are really left open to much more research. And so I would like to research some more of the topics. One of those being, what did the Knights of the Temple find when they during the Crusades? What did they find at the mosque? You know, and so.
Those are great questions.
Yeah, and Simon, you will be getting those books. You'll be getting that book and my other book soon enough. So you'll be able to see them, and we can talk about them later.
Okay. I do have to call an end. Matthew, it has been delightful to talk to you, and I am sure that we will be talking again soon. Do you have any parting words?
Well, no, I just like to say thanks a lot for your time, Simon, and thanks a lot for your effort and looking over my book, and your review was fantastic. And, you know, when you write, you just go, oh, my gosh, are people going to get this? And you got it. You got it. So that I've been so worried. No, people are just going to think I'm just crazy, but you got it. So I appreciate that. And I'm here anytime you need somebody to talk to.
Okay. This is Simon Barrett wishing everyone a happy, healthy, and safe week. And we will be back again with another edition of the Week in Reviews soon. Until then, goodbye.
Is that it?
For a great start to the year ahead, Safeway meets your needs. With low prices and more options, there's no better time to eat smart and shop smart. Shop with your club card and get Signature Farms fresh chicken drumsticks, thighs, or leg quarters in the value pack for only 88 cents a pound. And pick up large navel oranges for just 58 cents a pound. Plus, Pepsi 24-pack 12-ounce cans are $5.88 each, limit 2. Fresher choices, sweeter deals, smarter shopping. Safeway, it's just better.